So I've heard that there's actually been soft tissue found in dinosaur bones.
Yes, and that is a great second indicator of the youthfulness of the fossil record specifically. There's two types of soft tissue we might see. One might be like the petrification of something soft. There was even Charles Darwin, he wrote, I think in Origin of Species, no organism wholly soft can be preserved. So you would never expect to find a fossil jellyfish.
Right, which there have been.
We find tons of them. We find fossil raindrops, plants, insects, flowers, lots of things are fossilized that shouldn't be if, in Darwin's mind, slow and gradual. Something dies and sinks to the bottom, is very slowly buried. Well, then nothing soft is going to remain, only the hard parts. We find tons of remains of petrified soft parts. But then there's the other type of soft part, the non-petrified type. And that's the stuff that really should not be there. Starting off in about 10 or 15 years ago now, there's a large Tyrannosaurus rex they found in Montana, and they wanted to fly out the leg bone. They had hired a helicopter, but the helicopter couldn't pick up the leg bone. It was too heavy. So they cut it in half.
Ooh.
Yeah, world-class specimen. They cut it in half.
Ooh.
And then one of the scientists there, who's now very famous, sampled the inside of the bone, took it back to the lab, decalcified it, using something I've used in a lab when I'm working on corals to get rid of the skeleton so I could study the tissue.
Okay.
She did that with the bones of the dinosaur and was left with soft, flexible tissue. And that wasn't a one-off. We've now found soft tissue in multiple dinosaur bones. We know now that there's reports going back at least to the 1960s where scientists are reporting similar things. Different places in the world, different types of dinosaurs, mosasaurs, pterosaurs, tyrannosaurs. Yeah, these things are not petrified. The soft parts haven't been replaced with rock. They're still flexible sometimes. They still stink. You can sometimes, some examples, you can squeeze the blood cells out of a blood vessel.
So there's still visible blood cells in there?
Yes. And bone cells and blood vessels and fibrous tissue from the skin that hasn't completely decayed yet. It's actually shocking. Now, there are ways maybe of helping preserve things over a long time. You know, you put your meat in the freezer, right? You don't leave it on the counter because it preserves it better. But even frozen, things like that don't last millions of years. And we've been studying this for over 100 years. The study of the breakdown of things over time is called taphonomy. This is a well-known part of science. We pretty much know how long it takes these things to break down. And this is shocking everyone, because even me, I think these things were buried during Noah's flood. That was 4,500 years ago.
So
that's
you would
a long
expect
time
to find carbon.
No, I wouldn't expect to find anything. After 4,500 years, I expect it all to be decayed away. But if I'm incredulous, what's the evolutionist answer to this? I mean, I'm surprised. So maybe I was overestimating how fast things break down. Okay, fine. Twist my arm. They can last 4,500 years. But 70 million? That's a whole nother ball of wax. So we find soft tissue. We find blood vessels, skin. There's even evidence of DNA. And that's my field. I'm a geneticist. There should not be DNA. It should have broken down a long time ago. DNA is a really fragile molecule, much more fragile than the proteins in our skin.
Okay,
and
so
there's evidence of it being there.
Let me just ask you, maybe this is a sidebar question, but you, as you were talking about being a geneticist and there's DNA in there, so how far are we from Jurassic Park?
Great question. I would refer people to an article I wrote for Creation Magazine. It's now on creation.com. Mammoth clones coming to a zoo near you? With a question mark. And I was talking about the cloning of a woolly mammoth, that this lab is trying to do that. They're not going to be able to do it.
Why not?
Because the woolly mammoth genome that we sequence is in pieces. It's broken down. They can sequence the little pieces and compare it to elephants. We find out mammoths are more similar to an Asian elephant than an African elephant. That's really interesting. But they don't have a complete genome. The chromosomes are in little pieces.
They can't do it now, but that doesn't mean that they couldn't find more examples?
Or manufacture it in a machine.
Ooh, how does that happen?
Well, they have DNA writing machines. You can write DNA, make DNA, but the problem is chromosomes are, tens and hundreds of millions of base pairs long. So we don't have the technology. But what they're going to do is they're going to try to genetically engineer an elephant and make it look like a woolly mammoth. Just like the reports this week. Now, by the time this video comes out, it'll be a couple of weeks, maybe a couple of months old. Reports this week of them resurrecting the dire wolf, an extinct species. But they didn't. They took a wolf and they genetically modified its genome to make it more like a dire wolf, the big wolf that went extinct a long time ago. That's not the same thing as a Jurassic Park. That's not cloning a species. It's just modifying a species that already exists.
All right, so there's been information lost.
Absolutely.
They're not going to evolve. They can't clone this elephant to look like a woolly mammoth, and then it couldn't eventually evolve into a woolly mammoth.
No, they're gonna actually say that's the gene that makes it hairy. That's the gene that makes a big tusk. That's the gene that makes the head look a little funny. Change those letters in those genes, and try to get a female elephant to bear a mammoth baby, and boom, we got a woolly mammoth, but it's not really. So Jurassic Park is even worse because dinosaur DNA, it's there. We can see it with antibodies, and we can see it with DNA stains, but we're not able to sequence it yet because the DNA is broken up in such tiny little pieces that you can't sequence it. Or if you did sequence it, you have 5 or 6 letters in a row. What does that even mean? You need a long piece of DNA before you know what it is. So that's the issue with a Jurassic Park-like scenario.
So you've given us several reasons. You've given us 5 good reasons
yes.
why the Earth is really young, and there's science to back that up, right?
Yes.
And so you've mentioned creation.com, but we also have this resource, Evolution's Achilles Heels, this DVD. That
One of my favorites.
One of your favorites. Tell us a little bit about it.
Well, we identified multiple areas of science that are fatal flaws in evolutionary theory. That's what an Achilles heel is. It's a fatal flaw in something that looks like it's impervious to attack. And we identified them in all these different areas, and we got multiple CMI scientists. And for the documentary we made, we took people from the outside also. And so it was like nerdy kind of Christian creation scientist person. We asked them one question. They're all PhD scientists also. We said, okay, Mr. Scientist, tell us what evolution cannot answer in your area of expertise.
Okay.
And that's it. And man, they told us the most incredible things. We called them evolution's Achilles heels. And then we had non-scientists review this many times to make it understandable. And then we released it, and it's one of the best-selling things we've ever made. Very powerful. We had so many comments and so many testimonials of people being encouraged through that.
And because this is such a great resource, we're going to make it available as a free stream.
Awesome.
Look in the description.
Okay.
Thank you so much, Dr. Carter, for being here and giving us some great reasons that the Earth really is young.
You're welcome.